So you cannot lose weight. You have a slow metabolism and eating healthy just doesn't seem to do anything. If any of this sounds familiar, then this video is made specifically for you. So just quickly, why listen to me? I've been weightlifting for like half a decade now. I am a competitive Muay Thai fighter. I've been on a major weight loss journey myself. I run a business and have optimized my diet countless times for brain function, and you and I both have a shared benefit. So weight loss in 3 easy steps, and I recommend you stick around till the end because the third one is by far the most important and one that nobody talks about. So let's get on to the first one, which is the most basic step, is a calorie deficit. So what is a calorie deficit? Essentially, it's burning more calories than you eat, which will result in you losing weight. And this is essentially the basics of all weight loss. If you want me to go more in depth about calories, press the video in the top right. Now you can burn calories from eating less and moving more. And this is a little smart calorie deficit model that I put up myself. So you would start with a maintenance of around 2,800. Let's just say your calorie deficit would be 300 to 500. And 200 can come from cardio and 200 will come from your diet. Then you get a 400 calorie deficit and you lose weight up until you reach a plateau, and then you come back up to the top and do the same thing. And you continue the cycle until you are essentially satisfied. Now be wary of extreme dieting. Deficits of more than 500 calories can lead to extreme hunger, cravings, eating disorders, muscle loss, fatigue, and so much more. You want to take it slow. When you do, you are far more likely to stick to it, and most great things take some time to achieve. So for me, it took about a year to go from the image on the left to the image on the right. Now, once again, the image on the right is way too lean for me, and I genuinely felt horrible when I was that skinny, but as you can see, it's doable, and I did it myself. Now, the fastest way to drop off any type of diet or exercise is just to go way too extreme and tire yourself out. So this would be like doing cardio for 2 hours or going on a 1,000 calorie deficit. Here are some tips that I learned along the way. You should track your weight and take progress pictures every day. What I used to do is every single morning I'd wake up, I'd go pee, and I'd step on the scale, take my weight, and then I'd take a photo of myself. And this will just help you see progress within the months, because sometimes when you're seeing yourself in the mirror day to day, you just don't notice how much different you actually look, and this can really help motivate you in the long term. If your weight stops dropping, wait at least a week before going into a steeper deficit. This will allow you to rule out any water weight fluctuations, and it's just a general recommendation not to cut calories too quickly. You want to really taper off and plateau hard before you actually go in for a bigger deficit. It'll just help you make less mistakes. Now, the first week of your diet, you will typically lose the most weight just because of cutting water. And this also applies to every single time you plateau. Once you lower your calories, your glycogen stores are going to get lowered within the first couple of days. So it's going to look like you're losing a lot of weight. And also visually, you'll see it as well if you're getting to the leaner points. So don't be tricked. This isn't fat loss. This is just water. And on the contrary, if you tend to eat a lot of carbs, you'll also put on a lot of water weight, which then sometimes people tend to believe that they gain like 5 pounds within one night, and it's just water weight. Like, guys, this stuff changes up and down very quickly. You want to track your calories. This is an absolute game changer. This completely took away any of the plateaus I had in weight loss, and it's just an absolutely amazing thing. I first started off with a notepad, but then I switched to a mobile application, and so an example of this would be Kitchen Savvy, which is the app that we have, and I'd definitely recommend you use it. You know, there's many different market alternatives that you can go for, but overall, it's a must-have. And lastly, you want to make sure you're doing some form of resistance training. If you're not working out, then you're just going to lose all of your muscle within the deficit. And one last thing that came to mind that's also super important is you want to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, just so you have the highest chances of maintaining the most muscle mass when trying to get leaner. Number 2, we have good sleep. So why is sleep important in the first? So sleep will regulate your hunger and satiety hormones, which are ghrelin and leptin, and you are less likely to fall for junk food cravings when you've had a good night of sleep. Sleeping will also aid your recovery. You'll be more energetic, which then you can do more cardio, get more movement throughout the day, take more steps, and add to that total burn of calories that you need to help you lose the weight. And lastly, sleep restores motivation. So this is when our neurochemicals top up the most. When you're sleeping, your dopamine gets replenished. And with poor sleep, you're going to have decreased dopamine, which then you're not going to be as motivated and not as goal striving, which then you can much more easily fall for junk food cravings and avoid all of the hard work that you have to do to reach your endpoint. Now, so how do you actually sleep better? So I'd recommend to get around 7 to 10 hours of sleep, and that's just like the sweet sweet spot that I found for myself. Anything under 7 hours in bed, I tend to wake up feeling under rested, where anything over 10 hours is a little bit overkill for me. And one thing I want you to keep in mind is 8 hours in bed is not 8 hours of sleep. You tend to sleep around 30 minutes to an hour less, and you can notice this if you've ever tracked your sleep using one of the sleep trackers. So what I would personally do is if I wanted to get 9 hours of sleep, I would time it so where I would be in bed for 10 hours. Now, another thing is try to wake up naturally without an alarm. This is just far healthier and you'll feel so much better. Try not to eat 4 hours before going to sleep. The main reason for this is just the increase in body temperature. You can eat a light snack, just try not to eat like your dinner 4 hours before going to sleep because it'll raise body temperature. This is why people say you should sleep in a colder room before going to bed, and this is why alcohol also affects sleep negatively, raising your body temperature. What I used to do is also use sleep trackers, so they're fantastic to a certain extent. I used to have the Oura Ring, which is the one at the very bottom right here, and honestly it's a phenomenal tool. It really helped me better my sleep personally, so I would definitely recommend you use it. Do not use technology 1 hour before going to sleep, and primarily do not use your phone in bed. So there's various reasons for this. The primary one is blue light, but if you do have a blue light blocker, then using your phone in bed will cause you to psychologically associate your bed with not sleeping and doing something else. So yeah, overall not recommended. I sometimes don't follow the first one. I do use technology 1 hour before going to sleep, but it doesn't seem to affect me as much as keeping my phone in my bed. I think for nearly the past 2 years, I haven't had my phone in the same room that I sleep in when I do go to sleep. So at least on the other half of the rule, I 100% abide by it. And what I also noticed changed my sleep the most was waking up at the same time on weekends and on normal days. So, you know, people talking about sleeping in on the weekends, generally what I felt personally and all the data that I got from the sleep trackers, you should wake up at the same time. Even if you get poorer sleep that night, you should just still wake up at the same time just to keep that rhythm going. Now, this is a major tip that I just randomly kind of spoke upon while teaching someone else about sleep, and I feel like this is a fantastic analogy. Every night of your sleep should feel like a weekend sleep-in. So you know those moments on the weekends where you've slept so much that you generally feel fully rested and you want to get out of bed? It seems as if you take up more effort actually trying to sleep than just standing up and going on about your day. That is what every night of sleep should feel like. I've personally experienced this for quite a long time, and it is one of the biggest differences in overall life quality I've ever had. And number 3, let's get on to psychology. So let's speak about self-image. If you subconsciously see yourself as somebody who can't lose weight, you frankly won't. Without a self-image change, you will rubber band back to your current self-image. And so let me just quickly explain this further. Essentially on the screen, you can see that there is your current self-image and then your goal, which is the other side of the rubber band. You can pull towards the goal as much as you want, but as soon as something happens, as soon as you're a little bit tired, as soon as you had an argument with someone, as soon as you had a bad day, you will rubber band back to the starting point. And examples of this would be like binging on junk food, not feeling like getting out of bed to exercise because, you know, you just don't feel like it. This is an example of coming back to your current self-image. What you want to do is move up your current self-image up to here, and then snapping back won't be as devastating. You should see yourself as someone who does exercise, as someone that does eat healthy, and align your entire life with that if you want to make the most change. Now, the book that you should read for this is Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and overall this is a very phenomenal book, not only in the space of diet and fitness, but it does have various applications within other spheres of life. Now, some final tips that really helped me personally was starting small. I started just by taking the sugar out of my coffee, and only then I was actually able to stop eating sugary sweets. I dedicated a certain chapter of my life just to fitness and fitness only. So I would do extreme research, I'd watch videos just like this one, and in my free time, I didn't even watch movies or any shows. I would literally put on fitness videos. So you know how some people when eating food, they'd scroll like TikToks, they'd scroll Instagram, they put on like a random funny video. Instead of that, I would basically watch videos just like this. I surrounded myself with other healthy people. I kept junk food out of the house. And the idea behind this is you add yourself an extra barrier from you and the food that you're craving. So instead of the mental battle just being like, oh, I'm gonna grab a jar of cookies and eat it right now, it's like you have to go all the way to the store, you have to buy the cookies, and you have to come all the way back home. It just adds that extra level of friction, and it definitely came into play when I tried sticking on my diet quite a lot. And lastly, you should try experimenting with more recipes. I'm kind of tired and pissed off about all the lies that celebrities fed us of like, oh, you have to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's not the only healthy food out there. Most of them are on steroids anyways and using weight cutting drugs just to fill in the roles for the movies as fast as possible. So eating healthy doesn't have to be disgusting. You can definitely search up a bunch of like low calorie recipes and it will change your life. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And don't forget to stay savvy with your diet.